Welcome back. Episode 2 of the Jesus Cartel. It seems that we survived our first few days and we didn't get canceled. So that was a plus. Did you have fears of getting canceled, or was it just me?
Well, as far as week one, I didn't. Now, I did peek at the question just a little bit before this one, and there is some rumors that based on our opinions for this week's question, we may get canceled after this week. So, but it is what it is. No, we just put it out, the first weeks a couple of days ago. Seems like we've had a really good response so far.
Yeah, it's been a great response. I've been super excited about it. Now, I will say Facebook did reject our posting of it. Both times, different places, different internets, different computers, and it will not let me upload this to Facebook. And so, be that what it may, if you got any connections at Facebook, hit them up. Tell them to let the Jesus Cartel in the game.
So we did have to do a little workaround,
Yeah.
and we got that worked out. But as far as our audience and stuff, nobody even said anything negative about the Jesus Cartel name to me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I've been really excited about that. I love the name. It's becoming more part of me every day. And I will say that soon, because I'm working on it right now, we're just waiting on some approval and stuff like that. But soon we'll also be available to listen to on Spotify. I don't know if I had mentioned that to you yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to try for the Apple podcast as well. But I can tell you that the last time that I was a part of a podcast, they would not approve my podcast. And it was similar-ish content because, I'm a part of it.
That's who we are.
Yeah. And so, man, have you had a good week? Anything happening?
Now? We've had a really good week. Been busy week, and in ministry and at home. But everything is really amazing, and everything's been going great. What about you? How's your week been?
Yeah, things are going well. Had a little elbow injury thing happen yesterday while we were training. Just kind of a wrong place, wrong time sort of deal. It happens from time to time, but it feels a lot better today than it did yesterday. And I believe the Lord's just going to continue leaning in on that. And, we got that big race coming up in October. We're doing the Spartan Ultra, the 31 miles, obstacles is supposed to be this whole crazy thing. And I'm excited about that.
So the rumors is that some people think that you haven't put in the training necessary for that. As compared to what they've put in. And I just try to let them know that you're a superior athlete to them.
Yeah, when it comes to things like, here's what I can tell you.
Right.
When it comes to things like ultra marathons and things that require just an unbelievable amount of grit and determination, training is a huge part. I would never downplay the role that training has. But Murphy's Law applies more in things like that than it does anywhere else. Something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. It always does. Matter of fact, last time that I ran a marathon, we did it on a whim, by the way. Me and a friend of mine were just talking trash. Joe Reasono. Yeah. Me and Joe were just kind of talking trash back and forth, and I was trying to gear him up for me and him to run 100 miles one day. And he was like, cool, man, I'm down. I said, we should run a marathon before that. He was like, I'm not down. I don't want to do that. This was a few years back. And I was like, you're scared that you're going to not do well in the marathon and get discouraged. And he was like, no, man, I'll run one right now. So I pulled the truck over and we ran a marathon right then. And what happened was he got really injured about 13 miles into this marathon, really injured. And we had been running a lot. And so it wasn't like we were untrained and hadn't been running anything. We were running several days a week. And he got super injured about 13 miles in. And when you're doing ultras like this, those kind of things happen. And so train as you might, you're more dealing with grit and stuff like that than you are in speed. And so, and I've got a lot of that.
There you go.
So not worried about
So
that.
Your little injury from yesterday is getting better.
Yeah, getting better, feeling better. We got a big trip to Texas coming up this next coming week going for a family member of mine's wedding. Going to turn it into a little vacation type deal. You got anything big coming up?
Yeah, in the morning, my wife and I, last month, we celebrated 24 years of being married.
Oh,
We've
congrats.
been together 28 years. We've been married 24 years. And so in the morning, her and I are headed out for a little anniversary trip for a few days. So we're very excited about that. So after working today and doing some extra stuff this afternoon, then church tonight, then we'll pack late tonight and head out early in the morning.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. Yeah, I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Appreciate that.
Last week, we kind of started our show with a get to know Clay, get to know Andrew kind of situation. And we talked about some different things. And we leaned into some things that, maybe more of our good qualities and stuff that we do really well. I do want to ask a different question this week. Just every week, we'll do a little segment where the viewers just get to know us a little more. This week's get to know you question is, what are you not so good at? We talked about what you're good at.
Okay.
What are you not so good at? Is there anything that kind of jumps to mind when I say something like that?
Okay. So the first thing that jumps to my mind isn't an answer, but more of a statement. The first thing is I like to win at everything that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I like to, we talked about that a little bit last week, liking the bully, Mm-hmm. And so no matter what I'm doing, I like to win at that. I'm okay when I'm not, but I want to get better to be able to do that. So what that means is I'm not good at everything, but I only try to do what I'm really good at because I like to win, I like to do well, and I don't like to lose at all. So my form of not losing is not doing those things. So if you ask me something that I'm not good at, first thing that comes to my mind is I'm not good at fixing things around the house, okay? In fact, the last thing that I fixed around the house was supper. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm not the one that slaps on the paint or, fixes this or fixes that. I'm the one that feels like that's an anointing for other people. Mm-hmm. That's how other people make their living. And I am actually taking food off of their table by trying to do something myself. When I could just hire them to do what God's called them to do. So, I guess one of the number one things I'm not good at is doing, things around the house with my hands, fixing things such as cars or, things like that.
Yeah, handyman type stuff.
Yeah, something like that. But we have a lot of people that God's anointed them in that area, and they need to be able to use what God's given them. So,
yeah, right.
So, hey, what's fair for me is fair for you. What's something that you're not real good at, Andrew?
Well, oddly enough, anything with the word pool.
Okay.
I'm not good at shooting pool. I don't know why. I'm a wizard at mathematics and geometry, but when it comes to pool, I'm just awful.
Really?
And I hate swimming with every fiber of my soul. I'm built like Michael Phelps, and so you'd think that when I got in a pool, I'd just be able to tear it up, and I cannot. Andrew sinks. Andrew sinks fast. And so, I do not like the water. I will not get in an ocean unless I'm doing a baptism, and that is a move of faith in more ways than one for me. Same with like lakes, ponds. You're not going to find me in one. I don't like to swim. I don't want to challenge the apex predators of the water to a contest. Right. I've got no interest in water whatsoever. So it is not an ideal situation. I will save you if you're dying. Outside of that, I really would prefer not to be around it.
So I knew that you didn't like the ocean and didn't like being there, but I didn't know it was all bodies of water.
Yeah.
Now you do like to go fishing, right?
I do like to fish.
Yeah.
I do like to fish.
Just like to fish from a boat?
Yeah.
You fish from a pier?
I fish from dry ground exclusively. And so we always have a good time. Well, so last week we got to share our first episode, and we talked a little bit about the secret to success after we kind of got to know or let the audience get to know us a little bit. And man, I think we hammered home some really good points. But we have our first viewer question.
Okay.
First viewer question, and for me, man, and I think for you too, is kind of what you were saying. It's like this is kind of how we want it to be driven.
Yes.
By the viewers, and to be able to put out information that's useful for them, that engages them. And we got our first viewer question. I'm so excited.
There you go.
You ready for it?
Yes, sir.
Our first viewer question is this. Do you feel like you can control your feelings and emotions? Do you feel like you can control your feelings and emotions? And I want to say, first off, there's some layers to that, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Isn't there some layers to that? No. Do you? What are kind of your first thoughts out the gate when somebody asks a question like that? Because it's a big question.
It is a big question. We actually got this question yesterday, and we initially talked about it for just a second, and then I've not put any more thought into it. But this is something that we do, or I do, feel strongly about. So yes, I think that I can control. The question was your emotions and what else?
And feelings.
And so I do feel like I can control my feelings and my emotions. So much so that I even think I can control my thoughts. Now that's another layer that we can talk about. But yeah, I really believe that I can start to feel a certain way, recognize it before it even becomes conscious, and change the way I feel about that, and change directions to a different place, and never let my emotions even become part of it. And I really do. I've been walking this thing out with Christ for a long time. We're renewing our mind. We're becoming transformed into the image of God. And I don't have to be controlled by my feelings or by my emotions. I told the guys in First Phase today when I was preaching to them, I said, I know some of this is going to be new for you, or a lot of it's new for you, and you may not understand it. But the more, you start to just act in it anyhow, or believe in it anyhow, without 100% understanding, the more God's going to be able to reveal it to you. And so I do believe that we can start to feel a certain way and decide to change that, and change completely different directions there, and then walk out and do what God's called us to do. And we can talk about that some more, but that's my initial thought. What do you think about that?
Well, and you'll find this is kind of a common thread with me, is that to answer anybody's question, I really need to know what you mean. And so while I can't dig into a viewer question and really kind of like prod them about exactly what they're asking, I think it's important we establish some baseline for what I'm about to say.
Cool.
Because I can only answer questions as I understand it. So when you say, can you control your feelings and emotions? I think the first thing that pops in my mind is, well, what are emotions? What are emotions? And so my understanding of emotions, or the way that I view emotions, which is different than a lot of people, they view feelings and emotions as something that is kind of a part of you. I believe fully, 100%, and I will die on this hill, that an emotion is a feeling that accompanies a decision. It always accompanies a decision. You will not get a feeling or an emotion absent from a decision, right? And so when you say that to people, it's really hard for them to swallow. It's really hard for them to hear, because you're like, well, no, I feel all these things, and they happen immediately, they happen fast. And I'm like, I understand, but also the decision-making process happens even faster.
Right.
And let me give you I'm going to make up a random scenario right now, okay? There's a speaker behind you, kind of above your head. It falls down, right? Crashes down. You are going to feel some type of way. But the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to decide what lens you look at this situation through. And the lens that you choose will dictate everything that you feel afterwards, right? So if you get up and you knock down all these cameras, I can view you, I'm going to say one of two ways. Really, there's a lot more ways. But I can view you one of two ways. I can view you as somebody who is out to hurt me and offend me, and I can reciprocate in kind. My emotions will heighten. I'll get angry and frustrated, and now I want to just rectify the situation. Or I can see you as someone who is hurt. Something's going on with you. And if I look at you through that lens, if I make a decision to see you through that lens, my feelings aren't angry. My feelings may be confusion. They may be a longing to help, to figure out what's going on so we can get to the bottom, so I can be there for you. The feelings change based on that initial decision. Everybody wants to attribute everything just to the emotion, and they want to ignore the fact that there was always a decision made before you felt that emotion. And so we're going to talk about this, we're going to dig into this, but I want to establish that as that's my baseline, is you don't just feel things at random.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And so, and really, you can make those decisions ahead of time
Sure.
before they ever happen. We can draw some lines in the sand. We can make some decisions. We can decide that we're going to have a good day today, no matter what. Every day that you ask me, man, how are things going? I'm always going to tell you it's going great. And the truth of the matter is, it is going great. But it's going great because I decided a long time ago that it was going to go great today, no matter what is going on. I'm one of the most positive people that you'll ever be around, but I have reasons why I'm a positive person.
Sure.
And I'll say it on this podcast that probably never seen it said it in public before. But the reason I'm so positive is because I'm terrible at being negative.
Mm.
Some people are really good at being negative. They can just be negative all the time and be okay with it. I'm not okay with it. If I'm going to be negative, it's not going to be good. So instead of burning it down or whatever, I just choose to be positive. I just choose to see the positive in things, choose to fix things, to make that good decision so that I don't have negative emotions or negative feelings. And so, man, I appreciate you sharing that with us about the decisions, coming first, because they really do. We all have a decision. No matter what anybody does to you, you have a decision on how you handle it.
100%.
It doesn't matter. I can walk up and slap you across the face for no reason, and everybody on this podcast would justify you hitting me back because I hit you first. But it doesn't mean that you have to. Mm-hmm. You still get to make that decision. Yeah. So like you said, the decisions that we make, even in the spur of the moment, set the tone for your feelings and your emotions and for the outcomes.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. And that's a great analogy, because violence is such an easy one to justify seeing through the wrong lens.
Right.
Seeing through, somebody walks up and slaps you, you're justified in everyone's eyes to immediately strike back.
Right.
I mean, dude, no one's gonna throw anything at you about it. But the reality is, and I mean, that would be a great example. If for whatever reason you can't, I wouldn't hit you back immediately, right, unless you continued and I had to protect myself. But I'm saying I wouldn't, because I would be trying to figure out what happened. Someone has given him some bad information somewhere, And so the last thing I want is for you to have been deceived by someone else's lie, and then you also got assaulted on top of it, or I say assaulted. Maybe you get the best of it. But my point is exactly what you're saying is true, man. And always the first decision is, what lens are you seeing this through? What lens are you seeing this through? No matter what happens, no matter how it happens, you cannot think of a situation. I don't care how, like, the listener right now is just like this cuddly, emotional ball of fluff. Think about it. Every feeling you've ever had, you first decided how you saw the situation, and then you felt something. It always happens. You cannot deny its existence. You always decide what lens you look through first. And I'm gonna make this is why you were afraid we were gonna get canceled. And I was hoping that I could coerce you into saying it, but I'm gonna say it. The people who defend their ability to be driven by their emotions, the people I've met in life, and I've met a bunch of them that really despise the way that I view this subject matter, they tend to be the most unhappy people.
Yeah.
They tend to be the most unhappy people. And the reason is, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, those are the type of people that exhibit a lot of people-pleasing behavior, because there's so much of their identity that's wrapped up in how people feel about them and how they feel about people. And it just becomes this impossible juggling act where you're trying to make everybody happy, and you just can't. It's impossible to make everybody happy, because everybody wants different things. And for somebody to, if there were one genie, one wish, and he's like, hey, y'all got to decide. The two of you got to make one wish together. One of us isn't getting what we want.
Right.
Not fully. It's impossible. Even with mystical powers, it can't be done. And so the reality is if you, with the human limitations that we experience, are trying to make everybody happy, and your happiness is based on that, because if someone's unhappy with you, that makes you feel bad, and now you're living from a place of negativity. And that's the way that you have to experience life. if you look at it that way, because someone's always going to be unhappy with you, and if and now you're dwelling on those situations because you hate them so much, and you don't dwell on the things that are going great because those feel good. You dwell on the things that are taking your attention and taking the energy out of you, which is the negative ones. And so, it leads to depression and all kinds of just crazy different outcomes when you're emotionally driven or feelings driven.
Yeah, and just so anybody listening doesn't just hate on you, I feel exactly the same way. The people that are emotionally driven, that operate off of their feelings, are, in every case that I can think of, the least happy people that you're around.
Yeah.
The people that are confident in who they are, the people that draw lines in the sand, the people that are confident in the finished work of Jesus and who they are in Him, the people that aren't driven by trying to make everyone happy, but by being obedient to what God's called them to do. Those are the people that you find to be the most happy and the most people that feel the most fulfilled in life. And so, and the other side of it is that people that are not emotionally driven don't like to hang out with people that are, because you never know what person you're going to get. You never know, how they're feeling that day or what's going on with them that day. And so you don't want to hang out with them because you don't know what to expect. But I know what to expect when I'm with you. You know what to expect when you're with me. And it's the same no matter what's going on. For those of y'all that don't know, we run the largest faith-based alcohol and drug rehab in Louisiana. We have men's side and a women's side. We have 20-something employees, with all that going on, and plus our roles at the church and different things like that. We have a lot going on. But no matter what's going on, I'm the same person every single day.
Sure.
You're the same person every single day. And it's because we know that we can control our feelings. We know that we can control our emotions. In fact, I'll even take it a step further. We can control what we think about, and we can control our thoughts. And one of the very best messages that I ever heard about that was from you. 8 or 9 years ago, you preached a message on controlling your thoughts. And even though I'm a real big proponent in that, it gave extra insight to me, and so I appreciate you for that. And can we control our feelings and emotions? Sure we can. And I think the reason why the reader or listener asked us that question is because I didn't realize that everyone else didn't feel this way.
Sure.
I thought even the people that were led by their emotions didn't really want to be. They just hadn't learned how to control it yet. But come to find out, it's not. People think that that's the way they're supposed to live through life, that ever how the wind blows, ever what happens, you just react to everything that happens, and based off of what happens, decides what kind of day you're going to have or what kind of week or year or whatever. And that's not the case.
If that is true, then circumstances are your God, not Jesus. And it's that simple. Like,
right.
Nobody wants to wear this. And so, there's a listener right now somewhere who's saying, this is ridiculous. I am a Christian and I love Jesus. And man, I feel all sorts of ways. There's nothing wrong with feelings,
right,
provided that you're looking at life through the same lens that God looks at life. If you look at the same life, every feeling that you're experiencing will be perfect and right. But when you choose the other lens, when you choose the offended lens, when you choose the hurt lens, you're now experiencing things Jesus never meant for you to experience.
Right.
Now you've gotten yourself into a mental place that Jesus never intended for you to be. And you can call feelings spiritual and a gift from God or whatever you want to call them. But the reality is not all feelings are spiritual and a gift from God. There are some people that feel some terrible things. It's a reason we have so many people in prison and, for all of these horrendous crimes, some. And it's like whatever feeling they had that led them to do that wasn't from the Lord,
right,
and you wouldn't even make that argument, but yet you'll make it for yourself that every feeling you have is from God. Feelings are something that accompany decisions. God gave you a spirit. If He's renewed your spirit, He's given you the ability to see through His lens And if you choose to see through his lens, then the feelings will in fact be as you described from the Lord. But the minute you choose to see through your own lens, your own way, not the way he would see the situation, you are feeling something that is not from the Lord. And you have to take an honest self-assessment,
right,
and see that for what it is. I've met a lot of emotional people that have come to me, hearing me, because I share this all the time, a lot of places. I've shared it in Africa, and I said that so like casually. That sounded weird. Clay and I go to Africa a lot, so it wasn't a weird thing to him. But my point is, I've had so many emotional people come up to me and say this. They say, man, I wish I could control my emotions the way that you control your emotions. This has been said to me twice by 2 different people in the last 3 days, right? That didn't know I was talking about this. They just see the way that I control myself in difficulty and horrible circumstances, that I'm still the same guy. And they're like, man, I wish I could do that. On the flip side, I've never had a person in my life that saw life through the lens that God sees life, controls their emotions and decision making, and said, God, man, I wish my life was just a little more chaotic. I wish it was just a little more mystery and just I wish I let my circumstances rule me a little more. I've never heard it. I've never heard it, because once you've experienced control, you get to experience life more like the way Jesus experienced life, which is why he was able. There's, the Spirit of God on the inside of him. But it was a lot of what he utilized the Spirit of God on the inside of him to do was control the things that we as humans couldn't control. And so all the fault, all the failure, all the sin that you see in the Old Testament building, piling up on itself over and over and over, these people don't have the Spirit of God on the inside of them. They can't see like God. And so they couldn't control the emotions. They were windblown. But Jesus having the Spirit of God on the inside of him sees like God. And so when he saw us doing everything we were doing, he didn't say, heck with them. He said, that's my people. Those are people I love. I'm for them. I'm going to continue on this path, even though they're still acting this way. I'm going to continue on this path. I'm going to save them. And thank the Lord he did, right?
Right. Thank the Lord he wasn't emotionally driven.
Sure.
We call it, you said people come to you and they say, man, I want to be able to control my emotions like you do. And, we've preached a series of sermons called Harnessing Your Emotions. We're not doing that to pick on somebody or, to make fun of somebody that is a little more emotionally or feeling driven. No, we're here to say, hey, you can harness your emotions. You can handle things the way we handle it, and then something else you said that on the other side, you've never seen somebody say, man, I wish I was a little more, carefree with my feelings or whatever. My wife and I, pick a lot of times because we have absolutely no drama. Mm-hmm. We've been married together 24 years. We've been together 28 years. We have no problems of our own. No problems with each other, no problems with our walk with the Lord, no problems with our children. We just don't. Any drama that we have is in ministry. Ministering to other people. I do a lot of marriage counseling. She wished that I didn't do as much marriage counseling. I had to hear other people's problems and be able to help them with that. But we have no drama of our own. But the reason is because it's not because we see everything the same. It's because we're not driven by our feelings. We're not driven by our emotions. We just don't believe that that's the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't mean that her and I agree on every little thing. We just don't let our emotions get part of it so that we can have a good talk about it. We can figure it out and come to a logical conclusion on it, And so because of that, we have no drama of our own. Like I said, we have some family members and some ministry and some different things like that we have to take care of. And sometimes those people can try to bring some drama on us, but we have none of our own. We're going to, and it's because we made a covenant with each other and a covenant with God, and we're going to walk this thing out. So I want to take it just a step further, and we've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but just a step further, and then we move. So not only can we control, our behaviors or our emotions and our feelings, but we can also control our thoughts. Now I learned from you and learned a long time ago that every thought that we have is not of our own. You used the example that, taking something from you, but you used the example of, well, these thoughts that you don't like them, right? No, I don't like them. Would you ever do them? No, I would never do them. Then why would you think they're yours, right? And so if they're not mine, then I'm going to cast them out. So I teach people a lot of times, I teach cognitive behavioral therapy. And basically, what that is to me is that you can control what you think about. You can control how you see something. You said it like this. You said you can control what lens you see it out of, okay? So you can control your thoughts because you control what lens you see it out of, and you can make a decision ahead of time. I'm not going to think that way, right? So I'm not going to think this way. So if you can control your thoughts, then you can control your core beliefs. Because, some of us had core beliefs growing up that were wrong. They were inaccurate. They were taught to us by our family. They were taught to us about people that wasn't saved. They were taught to us from people that, didn't have the same revelation of Jesus that we do. So now we're changing our thoughts. We're changing the way we see things. And because of that, we can change some of these core beliefs that drove a lot of what we did. Okay, so if we can change these core beliefs, like one of them believing that I'm the righteousness of Christ, that's a core belief in me that I'm in right standing with God. So if we change our thoughts, then we can control and change our core beliefs. If we can change our core beliefs, then we can change our actions and what we do. Okay, and that's what you were talking about, the action. And if we change our actions, we can change our outcomes. And so many people want their outcomes just to change, but they want to think the same way they did. They want to believe the same way they did, and they want to do the same things. But the direction that you're currently headed determines your destination. So if you want your destination to change, then you got to change directions in that area. So do you want to talk about that for a minute, about changing your thoughts and how that ultimately changes your outcomes?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind talking about it. It's, I feel like you just really hit it solid. It'd be hard to add a lot to it. The reality is we mentioned in the Secret to Success episode that everything that you do flows through what you believe about yourself.
Right.
So when you said that you're the righteousness of Christ, which is scripturally backed over and over and over again, that you've been made righteous, not because of your actions, but because of his actions, you've been made right. And so, if you see yourself that way, I mean, this is a question, and here it is simple for you as far as here's how I operate in difficulty. A situation has happened. My first question is, who am I? Right? Here's what I'm controlling my thoughts right now. I'm not letting the situation control what happens. I'm making some decisions. Who am I? I'm a son of the Most High God who sees me as a son. A literal son who loves me as much as I love my own children, which is, oh my gosh, relentless.
Right.
He loves me that much. I see myself that way. That's how I look at myself. All right. So I've analyzed that. I've accepted that part as true. My second question is, who are they? The other person involved. Who are they? Right. They're either also a son or daughter, or there's someone who's been invited in who hasn't accepted that sonship yet. Either way, I've got a responsibility to see them like that, right? I'm controlling my thoughts. I'm still not angry about what happened, right? Because I see, okay, this is someone who needs help, either remembering who they are because they did something crazy, or knowing who they are in general because they don't know yet, right? The third thing that I do is, what are the unbiased facts of the situation? I got to remove myself in anything that would lean me one way or the other. I got to remove it. What actually happened? And once I can view that from an unbiased place, and that's a big part of self-assessment,
right.
Once I can view that from an unbiased place, what is a solution that benefits them in this matter, right? Because for so many of us, our solutions to problems are self-serving. And it's like I've mentioned, if you pray for your wife that she gets a passion for house cleaning and things like that so that your life is a little more convenient, you're not praying for your wife.
Right.
You're praying for yourself, right? And so it's the same way when I'm trying to view a solution. I'm not viewing the solution for how could I turn this to benefit me the most? It's how could I help them in this moment see more about what's true about them? And that's the way that all things are steered. If you go through that step-by-step process, and I know it sounds corny to have a step-by-step process, but when I tell you that's what I do before I make any decision, I think about this thing, back. If you go through that step-by-step process, where is there space for another intrusive thought to come in?
Right.
Where's there space for it? I don't leave any room whatsoever for these other thoughts to come in. And by the time that they even arrive, I'm done. The decision's already made. You know what I mean? Like, we've already completely moved forward on the matter. And so, yeah, controlling your thoughts and controlling your thoughts is the key to controlling your emotion.
Right.
You know, and like you were saying, man, it is such a big point of my life, is understanding that not everything that flashes in my head is because of me.
Right.
You could be flipping through the channels and see a commercial about something crazy, and then be walking around the next day, and then the trailer from that movie pops through your head, and you get some crazy thought, and your immediate thought is like, oh my gosh, what in the world was that? You know, like, dude, don't take ownership of that.
Right.
Because a lot of people, man, I've seen it. It's sad, but I've seen people, like, they thought that, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Like, what's on the inside of me? Maybe I'm not in a relationship with the Lord. Maybe I'm not saved at all. Because if I was, certainly I wouldn't be having thoughts like this. And they go down this deep rabbit hole that leads them back into that place that Jesus never wanted you to be. And so, and with everything that you said, I think that you hit the technical side of it real well. And that process is just kind of that, what you explained in action. And so,
yeah, I mean, if you're sitting here today and you don't like the way your life is headed or the direction it's headed in some area, you have to change the direction in that area. You know, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to lose 15 pounds the whole time you're double fisting M&Ms.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating M&M as long as you're not trying to lose 15 pounds. But if you're going to try to change in some area, you have to change direction in that area. But before you can change direction, you got to make a decision that this is what I want.
yeah.
You know, I think so many people are just going through their day and with the hectic lives that so many of us lead, they're just going through their day and just trying not to mess it up too bad. They're not trying to gain anything out of the day. They're not trying to, disciple people, lead them to the Lord, get, better, grow with the Lord. They're just trying to not mess it up too bad. And man, I can't understand that. To me, that doesn't make sense, because then you're just going whichever the way the wind blows, that's the way you're going. Man, that's not good enough for me. When I lay my head on my pillow at night and say my prayers and stuff, man, I have to know that I accomplished what God wanted me to accomplish today.
Yeah. And
I can't accomplish what God wanted me to accomplish if I'm going down all these little rabbit trails because, this circumstance and that circumstance and this feeling and that emotion. And next thing you know, all I've done is go wherever my emotions went, not go where God wanted me to go.
Yeah.
Man, I would not be able to sleep at night if I spent one day like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Much less lived a life like that. So, I'm glad that, our viewer asked this question, because I'm learning more and more in life that there's another side that it's not only just people that are directed by their feelings, but it's people that believe that's the way it's supposed to be. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can know Jesus, have him be a big part of your life and think that it's just in the cards for you to just go whichever way your emotions or your feelings go.
Yeah.
I've never lived that life.
Yeah, and holding on to something like that, because a lot of people, I'll talk about everybody, I don't want to say that. I don't want to put that on everybody. A lot of people try to hold on to just one thing. I'm going to mostly give everything over to the Lord, but I do get really like ungodly angry at sports games. And so, but that's just me. Everybody kind of knows that about me. You know, I'll cuss and throw a fit, and if my team, you know, drops the World Series, and it's like a lot of people have those one things that they're like, this one thing is not that big of a deal. It's just kind of part of who I am, and it's like, no, like you don't understand. There's a difference in walking in fullness and walking in a partial relationship with Christ. And it's not a little different. It's astronomically different. And if you don't give up that one thing, you'll never experience it. And so for a lot of people, they think that they've reached all there is in their relationship with Jesus. And it's like, if you'll let go of that thing, you'll see more. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited that this just hit my memory. For years and years and years, I preached about I used an analogy about catching monkeys by putting a peanut in a jar that their hand couldn't. And basically they reach their hand in the jar, they grab the peanut, and then they can't get their hand out of the jar because they won't let go of the peanut. And it happened to my youngest daughter the other day. We have like a little, I call it the baby prison at our house. And she had the TV remote, which she loves. And she had stuck her hand through the gate with the remote in her hand and could not get her hand back out because she would not let go of the thing that she wanted. And so she was bound. There was nothing restricting her, yet she was bound.
Right.
And it's like, when you're holding on to that one thing, you're the same way. There's nothing restricting you, but you are holding yourself bound. Just release it. Just release it.
You know, the very first thing I thought about when you said that, you know, the very first thing when you said, you know, people hold on to one thing, you know, or, you know, they act out in one place or, you know, whatever. And the first thing I was thinking of is, why is so many people so fixated with T-ball games that's their one thing where, you know, I'm not going to show out anywhere else. I'm going to do great at work. I'm going to do great and all this stuff. But man, if I go to a T-ball game or if I go, you know, watch a coach pitch game or whatever, you know, I'm allowed to cuss at the umpires. I'm allowed to get kicked out at least twice a year. I'm, you know, allowed to jump on my kid in a way that I wouldn't anywhere else, you know. And I was just thinking about that. I said, why is the one thing for so many people sports related and not just sports related, but related to children?
Yeah.
You know, to children playing sports, you know, and so children going through all these emotions, learning all these kind of different things, all this kind of stuff in life, but yet we're going to judge them so hard publicly in front of everybody based on how they play a game, you know, and so that was what was going through my mind. But you're right. There's so many people holding on to one thing that's so much holding them back from God's best. And they know it. And they're willing because they think it's only holding them back as much as that one thing. But it's not true. It's like you said, it's holding them back from everything that God wants them to do, you know. And so, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and we don't know exactly what direction it's going to go, well, we just got a question, we're going to answer it. But if there's one thing that God has showed you to get rid of in your life, or one thing that he wants you to respond to differently, or, you know, whatever that is, I promise you, if you will give it up and just give it to him, like Andrew was talking about, you will never come back 6 months from now or a year from now and say, man, I wish I wouldn't have quit showing my butt in this instance, or I wish I wouldn't have quit this habit, or I wish I wouldn't have quit doing this thing that wasn't good for my body. You never say that. You know, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, you're going to be even more proud that you did those things. And even if you even remember it, it might not even be such a part of your life anymore that you even forgot that you used to be that way or do those things or react in that way. But like Andrew said, I just implore you that if there is something like that in your life, man, leave it at the altar. Leave it at the feet of Jesus. He's already done everything he needs to do. You just drop it there and walk this thing out, and God's going to change your life.
Yeah, 100%. And if there's anybody listen and what you do. I would be impressed if this podcast has offended you and you're still here. I'm impressed. I genuinely am.
Yeah.
I'm not even being funny. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by your willingness to hear opposing views. And I want to say this, Steve. I want to say that if you're still like your stomach is churning over what you're hearing, I want you to ask yourself what lens you're looking at me through. That's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about what lens you're looking at me through and decide whether or not that's how God sees me. And I bet that you're either looking through the wrong lens, or when you recognize that you're looking through that lens, you'll say, man, that's not how God sees him. And that is what leads you to that place. And we love you and we're for you. And dude, I wear some labels.
Yeah.
Right? There are a lot of people that don't like me because of my outspokenness. A lot of it's got to do with this area, but I'm pretty outspoken in a lot of different areas just because I care about people.
Right.
It's not because I want people to be like me. You were talking earlier about trying to help people who are emotional become more like you. And a lot of people's response to someone saying like, "Oh, you think they're better than me?" That's not it.
No.
That's not it. He recognizes something that the Lord has taught him, that the Lord wants to teach other people. It's not something ingrained in Clay since birth where he was just always this way. It's something the Lord developed in him. It's something the Lord developed in me. I'm not better than you in any way, and I don't view myself that way. Don't look at me through that lens either as someone who sees himself as better than you, because it's not true. What I see is every single day I have joy.
Amen.
And the circumstances are not always good. A lot of times are horrible. Every single day I have joy. When I see you, every single day, you have joy.
Amen.
Regardless of what I see happening around you. And you've been in some pickles in the last
Right.
the last few years. Man, I've had to have some conversations with you
Right.
that were hard, man. Every single day you have joy. You never wear it on your face. You never mope around. You know what I mean? Because you understand. What we want is not for you to be like us. What we want is for you to have everyday joy.
Amen.
And if this is what gets you there, because it's what got him there, it's what got me there. If this is what gets you there, we just want you to experience that. It's not about being like us. It's about you having what God wants you to have. And we want that for you. And I get labeled the other way. People think I'm uncaring. People think I'm unempathetic. And all of these things. And they're simply not true. I just don't, even in the most horrific of circumstances, I do not let my emotions rip me around,
Right.
And so, everybody else is hurt and crying because we just lost somebody. And I'm in the corner, not unempathetic about it, not uncaring about it, but understanding the situation for what it is. Who am I? Who are they? Is there any sort of reasonable solution to this situation? And if there's nothing I can do to change what has happened, what am I benefiting anyone to be broken in this moment? And so it's not about whether or not I'm experiencing a difficulty, because I am, but my brokenness doesn't lend help to anyone. And so, and it's not an act. I'm not trying to act tough. I'm not tough. I tell people that all the time. I'm not a tough guy, but I am somebody who always wants to be beneficial to the people around me. And my brokenness and me not being able to hold it together is not it's holding it together isn't keeping a strong face. Holding it together is controlling the thoughts and the emotions and everything's happening on the inside. And holding it together is very important. You're allowed to cry. I cry sometimes. People would never think that. Sometimes I do. But I'm never broken inside. Never broken inside, and it's different.
Well, I'll hit it from a different angle. And I agree with everything you said, and hope that people, know us or learn enough about us to understand, that's what we're saying. We're just trying to help, But I'll take it from the other side. I don't get overly elated when things happen, You know, because I'm the same no matter what. Because, you know, just because we did good in a business deal, or just because, you know, we did good in this area, it doesn't change who I am. You know, I'm the same guy that I was before. You know, I ran for political office a few years ago, and you know, and as we got close to the election, you know, everybody's like, man, what are you going to do if you don't win? I was like, this race doesn't define me. And some people that don't really know me are like, oh, sure it doesn't. You put a bunch of money into it. You put a bunch of work into it. You put a bunch of time into it. I was like, yeah, but it still doesn't define me.
Yeah.
I'm still the same guy no matter what. Now, we won the race, but even when we won the race, it didn't change who I was.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have changed it if I would have lost, and it didn't change it when I won the race, because I am who I am, and I am who God says I am, and I'm very confident in that. So you don't see me walk around, you know, just overly elated, over the top all the time. You just see me walk around with the joy of the Lord all the time, no matter what's going on, whether it's good or, you know, bad or good, you know. So it's on both sides of it. You know, we're not emotionally driven even in the good stuff. It doesn't mean that we don't enjoy it. It doesn't mean that, you know, once again, you know, one of our mentors, Terry Poland, and I having a conversation Sunday, and we were having a conversation about something that was really going well in my life, something that was really going right, you know. And he goes, you know, if somebody was just listening to the outside of this conversation, I mean, what's going right in your life is very good, you know, but we're just talking about it casually, you know. And I said, that's right, you know, because that's the way we are. We, you know, it's not just that we expect it and all those kind of things. It's just that we're being led by the Lord in everything that we do. And when good things happen in our life, it doesn't surprise us. Mm-hmm. And when bad things happen in our life, it doesn't alarm us. Yeah. You know, we're just being obedient to the calling of God. And so I see it on both sides. I mean, we don't want our good emotions or our bad emotions to dictate how our day goes. And we sure don't want it to dictate how we see ourselves. Mm-hmm. And how we see others. Yeah. I would hate to know that I saw you in a different way just because I was having a bad day. Yeah. Or even if I saw you in a different way because I was having a good day. Mm. You know, I see you for who you are and try my best to see you the way God sees you. Yeah. You know, and not only you, but me and the situations around us. So, man, I've enjoyed this today. And that was, man, we need to send a gift bag or something to our viewer for that question. That was a great question.
Fantastic. You know, I actually remember when you won the election, and the reason I remember is because you didn't tell me. I didn't find out for like 2 weeks.
Really?
And so, yeah, that's definitely being honest about that. For
sure. Yeah, most people would probably be like, well, he ain't said nothing about it, so he must have lost.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way. So.
Man, I had a great time today, man. I think that we really did a good job of opening this conversation. And, man, there's a lot more conversation to be had regarding this topic. And if you or somebody out there has got more questions on this, man, you can ask them on here. Maybe we'll revisit it. But even more than that, I'm not hard to find.
Right.
You know, you can come talk to me. We can go and do lunch and sit down and really lean into this together because I'm for you and I see you through the lens that God sees you through as somebody that He cherishes deeply, and because of that, I cherish you deeply. And so, yeah, that's we want to be a part of the solution.
Yeah, we want to see people reach their full potential in Christ. Yeah. And one way to do that is being confident in who you are and whose you are, and learning ways to walk this thing out. And so that's all we're doing. We're just sharing ways to walk this thing out and to live a life that's productive for the kingdom of God, and to walk around with the joy of the Lord in all circumstances. Man, I appreciate you allowing me to be on here with you today, Andrew. I thought it went great.
Yeah, love it. Got anything else?
Hey, just share our videos to Jesus Cartel. Tell your friends about it. You know, like us or give us a thumbs up or whatever you do on whatever platform, and just tell your friends to check out these guys. Tell them to check out the first episode and then watch this one, the second episode, Jesus Cartel. I'm Clay Russell. It's Andrew Skull. And hey, man, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. See you on Spotify soon.
All right.